Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar session, Leadership in DevOps, the differentiating capability for creating self-organized teams. My name is Alex Mazurek with Quint Wellington Redwood, and I'll be your host during today's session. Now, before we begin, just a few things about the webinar. Well, that's me on the left side. Just introduce myself. Our presenter, Hans, that's him right below. Just a couple things to cover. First off, all audio is being transmitted via your computer, and everyone is muted, so you can hear us, obviously, but we cannot hear you. But if you have any questions at any portion during the webinar, please use the questions panel. It should be on your GoToWebinar panel. Go ahead and ask a question during any point of this webinar, and we'll have a session at the very end in which I will read all of the questions aloud, and our presenter today, Hans, will answer them for all to hear. And last off, we are recording this webinar, so if you're busy and you need to go off to a meeting or something like that, everyone who registered will receive a link to view a recording of the webinar and a follow-up email in the days to come. So now that's a little bit more background on Hans, and now I'll just hand it back over to you. Thanks for joining us today, Hans.
Well, all right, thank you. As I already mentioned, for more than 9 years at Quint, DevOps Agile, we do a lot of assignments at our customer side, and with the experience we built up with them, we co-created new theories, and we made based the new training courses on those experience together with our customers. So I'm happy to share some of the latest insights on leadership and self-organizing teams. All right. What we see actually, it's from the more traditional point of view is that we focus a lot on KPIs and targets, and managers they feel responsible for getting there, and that the targets will be kept. And for example, we all want cheaper, better, faster delivery of IT services, but we must realize it is a result of a process, and it's just shouting to the teams, we should be cheaper, we should be better, and we can be faster, and you should this or that. It's not a great help. And instead of that, it's when we change more towards the agile mindset. It's what we see here. It's not about the leaders who are in the lead, the managers who are in the lead. Actually, what we're trying is changing the environment in such a way that the teams and the team members, the employees, they're actually delivering the customer value, and that when they are collaborating in high spirits, and they are ready to experiment and look forward and how they can find and make better services, better quality, delivering more customer value, that is of great help, and that will bring your organization as a whole to the next level. But for you as a manager, what can you do to get the organization from your point of view to a higher level? And we learned from lean leadership. Maybe already also went to another webinar on leadership. Lean leadership we just had some weeks ago. It is about showing respect and lead with humility and create a constancy of purpose. And on the other hand, it's not on ad hoc thinking, but think systemically. And that all together, that brings maybe some sort of quietness into the organization, but it's not complacency, but it's more that the team and the team members, they feel ready to deliver and collaborating together to making the great service we all want to have in the market. And it's also leadership. That's where it's all about. It's not command and control, but it's about communicating the mission, and it's the constancy of purpose we're also talking about. We should keep the soil healthy, and then what comes out, it's the result, and that might be better, faster, and cheaper. But it's not by shouting it to it, but it's fostering it, and then step by step the organization grow towards, well, the higher agile organization we'll want to be and to get there. And when we go deeper into, it's how can we emphasize the leader. In the classical team, the leader, it is the head of the team, and the team members, they do all the tasks that must be done to get the results. But actually, what will happen is that the team leader is the single point of failure. And what we see is that when more agility is needed, the team will fail. And what we see when we go towards self-steering teams, we see that there's a collaboration of teams, and then the average team IQ will go up, even up above the sum of the team members separately. And then when it comes to high complexity, tricky cases we have to solve, more agile questions and coming into the organization, a self-steering team is much better capable of responding to that. So we also, we think, okay, we want to get there a self-steering team, but how can we get there? It's not just let loose the way of steering and managing the organization. It is step-by-step approach. And it's also what Marquette says in this very good talk, Turn the Ship Around. It's no single leader beats a team of collaborating leaders instead of followers. And that's also, I think, it's a good theme to think about. And when we go deeper into that, we see what's actually going on. On the right side, we see self-steering. And on the left side, we see the hierarchical teams. And we all see that we have line managers, we have team leaders, and we have the team. And we see the team in the hierarchical shape. It's all about how can we do things. It is even shared about the way of working. So sometimes it's standardized. You have to follow the rules. You have to comply to it. Maybe you know better tools to use, but you're not capable of choosing them. And we go to the other side and see there is still line management, but it's about especially on communicating the mission and emphasizing the impact of what must come out of it. And for all the rest, we step by step, we set the team up front. But what will happen to get there is in between the roles, the team leader will vanish step by step. And line management roles will also more go to the why instead of how, what on the abstract level. And this is also maybe you've seen the pictures of Spotify, and we all, well, it's very popular, at least here in the Netherlands. Many organizations, they think about how to become some sort of Spotify organization that is aligned teams, highly autonomous way of working. But when you're in the left downside, it's low autonomy, low alignment, then people are not very happy. They're doing something, but it's just because it's said to be done. And what is the main trick we want to get to the upper right corner is alignment. Alignment is needed to give the teams more autonomy. And the way you fill in your role as a leader is not giving the solutions, but it is also about, okay, what is the outcome? What's the purpose we want to head for? And that's a challenge. That's really a challenge. But when we get there, well, it seems that it all goes by itself. But as a matter of fact, it is a construct that's built on a step-by-step approach, and leaders take a large role into it. Very specific. And when we go when we look towards self-steering, we quite often see the upper side. It's about process management, value chain, and value creation. So we focus on strategy and the hierarchy and the things about the value stream. How can we optimize it? Lean has very much a lot to say about that. But it's also, when we want to get there, it's our engine is actually the team. And how can we foster the team in such a way that they will be aligned and show courage in such a way that they will bring optimized processes. They bring in optimizing value change and actually bring in more impact to our customers. And there it's also where leadership is very important. And we see about the concept of purpose. And it's very much about how can we get the right attitude and behavior in the teams and to the employees. It's not only about them, but it's also about the leaders, the management. When you don't walk the talk, it's very hard for people to trust you, and in a way that they show courage and experiment and find way out to deliver better products. And in the end, we want to have team commitment and ownership on what they want to deliver. Instead, it's not as a leader, as a manager, your KPI. Now, these are the KPIs. They are owned by the team. And in the end, what we see is that it's also that the impact, the outcome the team will deliver will also in a direct communication with their stakeholders. So when we think about changing the top of the iceberg, we see a lot about T-shaping, competencies, increasing transparency. So, for example, a KPI dashboard, showing it for everyone else in the room or other teams. We might focus on shortening iteration cycles, and which is very important as a matter of fact, but it's still the top of the iceberg. When you go more to the right, we see replacing team leaders by shared leadership, and on the right side we go more towards it's stakeholder management, it's a team responsibility, and contracting predictable output and stakeholder impact is also more towards team responsibility. And in the end, we also might introduce a way of working for autonomous investment made by the teams themselves. But to get there, we have to grow the team capabilities at the foot of the iceberg, actually. And it's what we see here. It's creating more transparency. It's not a result on its own for the KPIs are open for management to steer. Now we open up our progress because we want to learn and we want to communicate when we have an impediment to other teams, so they can act upon it. So it helps us in communicating our progress and success, and maybe impediments as well. And then we see also team members, they have an urge from themselves to develop their professional skills and capabilities. And when we go more to the right, we see, okay, trust is no longer an issue. It's a key asset, and it is there in every aspect of the work, in the environment. And we're not cascading conflicts all the way down. When we see a conflict, it goes to the management, it goes to the top management, and then goes down. That's the hierarchical way of solving conflicts. But now we see conflicts are there, they are useful, they are important, and they need to be solved, because sometimes there are just conflicts between team members, but we have an urge, and we have the trust, and we have the capabilities to solve them by ourselves. And that have been said, we go towards slowly to the more to the right part of the screen, and we see self-steering, and we see also that teams are taking responsibility for their own HR management and development, and they are taking responsible. They feel they are responsible for managing goals together with the stakeholders. And so when we want to get there, it takes a long way, and it is we all might want to be there, but it's the most important thing, what we experience with our customers. It's not only the end goal what counts, so it's not only about self-steering, but we travel towards it. So it's a journey. It's a journey, and we start from the hierarchical team, maybe when we're there, and starting with the right mindset, communicating together from management with the teams. Then we start the journey together with the employees. That's all what it's all about. And why do I say this? Because it's from Conway, we already know it's organizations that are constrained to produce designs which are copies of communication structures of the organizations themselves. And Deming said, okay, people are doing their best, but the problems are with the system, and management is capable of changing the system. So these two statements are, I think they are key for leadership to realize it, that it's not about the people who don't want to improve, who don't want to deliver more value, but most of them, they feel constrained by the organization, by the structures, the lack of communication. And in order to get it resolved, they build systems to come over the threshold and being able to deliver the value. But changing the system will change the way people will interact and will change the way teams will collaborate. And that will result in a change maybe also of your architecture, of the systems you're delivering and you're using. So changing the organization is not about changing the hierarchy. It might be in the end. And so what we see is we're fading out step by step, for example, team management, and we are changing the way management want to behave. But they're all part, and it's the concept of purpose. When we have a view on where we want to head for with our organization, how we want to position our organization in the market, where we're looking for sweet spots for delivering more value to our customers, we might change parts of the system. And as a result, the people, the actors in the organization, they will change their behavior and new products will arise. That's also what we see here. It's about, traditionally we talk about management. It's also about the processes, the value chain and things like that. It's more the top side of the iceberg. But agile leadership is more about empowerment. It's not about hierarchy. And the impact when there's low hierarchy, which is in fact when we go towards self-steering teams, management has little hierarchical power. What you have left is it's the tool set where you might deliver from agile leadership, so empowerment. I think this is quite important to realize that as a management, as soon as we try to take the next step in our journey, and when things get nasty, we switch back to our old way of steering. We're taking the power, and that means we are depowering the teams and the team members, and they will sit back and say, okay, we thought there was trust, but we see there is only power. What's going on here? So especially when things will get a bit rude on the road, you must stick to your beliefs in a way you want to manage your organization. And when the people feel that you change the mindset, definitely to the agile leadership, the empowerment mindset, that will change. I think this is also it's nice. It's from Mr. Ghosal. He had a nice story. He called it the smell of the place, and it's something going on. It's when we talk about self-steering teams and organizations with focus on learn, experiment, and get, that's appealing, I think, isn't it? But when we take the next step, it's imagine Calcutta. It's a beautiful and vivid town. I've been there, and indeed it is. But when you think, how does it feel in the mid of July? But it's in the mid of July. The humidity is almost 99%. It's 45 degrees Celsius. So the only thing you do is go to your hotel room and you sit and wait under the airco till it's over. So in July, when that's the atmosphere you have to work in, you're not going to do anything. And what we see on the opposite, it's when you think about the forest of Fontainebleau in France, near Paris, in the midst of July. It's 25 degrees. The sun is shining. You're walking in the woods. Even though you didn't want to roam around and to look and to do some jumping around and playing, you go out and you do it because it's so inviting. The environment in the forest of Fontainebleau, they say it's okay. That invites you of experimenting, finding new ways. It's a way of juggling around and playing around, and you find out new ways, and that's also what we think is what is very helpful in your organization. It's when you change the smell of the place. And the smell of the place, you can't touch it, but you can feel it. It's there anywhere. What will happen? It is when we see from the classical hierarchy, the management focus, when it is on strategy and organization and process, And it said, okay, what's the reaction of the people? It said, okay, I need to comply to the rules, so I will comply to the rules. When we're focusing very much on planning and budgeting, they say, okay, I'll follow the planning, no matter what change, but maybe something else is needed, but it's the planning, so we'll do it. Management is, when we think about management and control, is so, okay, management has control, so we just do what's been said. And in a work relationship, you said, okay, I have a contract, so I go there and just do what must be done, and when time is over, I go home. And when we go more towards self-steering, and when we talk about the strategy, it's not so much only about strategy, it's much more you talk about the value and the purpose. People want to be challenged by a purpose. And when there can be ambition in it, it's not that we're already there or we can feel how we get there, but we feel we want to fill a certain purpose in the market for our customers. And then we get the people who have the mindset, okay, can I do to do more with less? So they themselves find new ways of doing, delivering more value with less stuff. And it's also on commitment. When they feel they are committed for the result that counts, for the customers, the people are talking with, they self-discipline themselves, and it's about stretching themselves in order to get things done. It's not because it's said by the manager, but because we are committed to our goal, and we want it to be predictable. We want to deliver the right value, the good quality, and we as a team, no matter when the manager is in the room or not, we're still doing it. And we need something for challenge and support. So we need to trust from management. It's not control, but it's trust, and so we feel we can be open to them. We can show courage, so we can show the risk and face and discuss it with our team members. It's not putting it away as if the risk is already mitigated. We hope it will not occur. No, when we feel it's there, we put it in our daily stand-up, for example. I see an impediment, might be a risk for our success. How can we change it? And maybe we find ways, and that's also what we feel in teams when the collaboration is good, people opening up, and as the group of collaborating leaders, they bring in the information which is needed to solve the challenges. And last one is about field friendliness. Finding new ways it's demanding for experimenting. So the new tools, new versions of tools in lifecycle management, maybe new platforms will arise. We see the new capabilities when we using cloud tooling, SaaS and PaaS. I think so. They demand a different way of working, and when we stick to the old ways, we never get the improved result. A shorter time to market, better, faster, and cheaper organization. So setting the scene more towards self-steering, it starts very much with the management focus. Okay, we have to change. We are allowed to change the system. When we change our organization, things will change, not only because we say it, but people, they feel they can act in a different way. And that's also, I think, what you can say, that will happen. I trust on that. I've seen it too many times that even when management says, okay, we don't have the right capabilities in our organization, when you really change and you empower the people, you see that actually attitude and behavior of the people and the teams will change. And what we can use, it is the containers, differences and changes concept. It's the model of Mike Cohn. Actually, it's not from him itself, but he did a lot of talks on it. And so I think it's very powerful. It goes deeper into what Dimmick says. We can change the system as management. And when he says, okay, we can define containers, it says we create boundaries of containers in which self-organization can emerge. And it will emerge actually when we have the trust in there. So containers, you can set up different teams, you can enlarge or shrink containers, and we know from Conway's Law that will also change the way the people they will build the systems. And we can challenge them and focus. We give specific focus and for organizational containers. We might create new teams, or maybe put them together in one larger team. So containers is very powerful. Next step, what he says is we must must clarify at least the differences that exist between employees and teams. Because when we know what I'm good at and not so good at, and I'm open on that, I'm open to ask for help. And when others in the same team are also open on their weaknesses and strengths, we can find out ways that we as a team, we can act stronger than as two souls. And so magnify or minify differences, that it's also what is very powerful. So first we can magnify it, so we can see the weaknesses of the teams, or we can say, okay, how can we T-shaping our capabilities? So maybe I might be very good in coding some stuff, but I might also be quite capable of learning testing stuff, or maybe I was very good in design and might be good as testing as well. So when we broaden our scope of our capabilities, we minify the differences. And we need challenges to do that. So clarify it, how good actually are we at certain spots? How good are we in delivering the services we committed to? So magnify it, makes it stronger. And then the third part is about exchanges. And exchanges, it's about when we know it is about collaboration, we know the differences, we start collaboration, then we start to build a team. And what we do is preventing tunnel visions. So exchanges will bring up front on the table opposing views, which is not a bad case. We already discussed it before. And that makes it, the organization is moving on. The journey is not only once in a lifetime. No, it's daily change. It changes in small parts. And we can use community of practices for it. We can organize hackathons it. And when we talk about Scrum, we organize sprint reviews. It's also about communicating different views and say, okay, we have new ideas about what can be our new challenges and chances to deliver new stuff to the market. Now we come here to a point, it's about learning, experimenting. It's what we think is a beeline to the finish. Okay, that's fast, that's good. But what we learn is that when we never have checkpoints in between, we don't know actually when we're on the right track. It might be that we just, okay, we took the wrong track, but we didn't saw it actually. And it's so many feedback points, feedback loops in short cycles that makes us learn a lot. And that's also what you say, okay, when we failed 10,000 times, we found out 10,000 ways that won't work, and we can solve that. And in the end, it might be a result is in very foolproof systems that will deliver services, will be available all the time. So it's a short feedback loop. Fail fast, learn fast. It's not only about acting on assumptions, but testing assumptions and foster fact-based acting. So I think that's a good way we want to introduce it, and leadership does a lot on that part. Now we come here to our final slide. Here it says, okay, leaders, we don't create followers, but it's what we aim for is we create more leaders. So everyone in our company, and they act as leaders from their own point of view, and leaders, they have a purpose, and the result might be better, faster, and cheaper services, but more fun for the employees and more satisfaction for our customers. So this is a short insight. What we discuss a lot in our training course in DevOps Practitioner. We go deeper into this stuff, also from different points of view. This is it at the moment. Alexander, thank you.
Hans, thank you for the excellent presentation. All right, so now let's head on to the questions. Let me see, we have a couple here. The first one for you, Hans, is why do you find it so hard to grow from hierarchical teams to self-organizing, and then even harder to go beyond that?
Well, the first is as long as we don't have trust in our organization, and we are all trained to comply to rules, and we want to say, okay, now it's not longer about my responsibility as a manager, but it's your responsibility as an employee in the teams. They say, oh, this is not so easy. Why are you handing over responsibility to me? I had a good life. It was not so happy maybe, but there was actually a lack of trust. So our first step is trying to find a way of making a credible change in the atmosphere. The first is a credible change. The smell of the place, that people get trust. It's okay. It's not just an ad hoc a way of management of the day. It's a new priority of the day, and tomorrow it will be something else. Yes, it might be that tomorrow things will be different. They will be different, but it's in a way we're heading towards more empowerment to the teams, and it's the first step is we try something, and when it's a mistake and it's a failure, we say, okay, I won't take the second step, I won't try it again. But when it's a success, then the next one might be a bit more easy. And then every time when we take a step and we learn from it, and we learn to validate our assumptions, and we learn also how we can improve our way of working, and we see, okay, there were many blind spots in our process definitions, and there's a lot of room to improve. And do we have the trust, and do we feel that we're capable to take the next step? And when we grow our capabilities, then we see a lot more of opportunities. And we're only looking at Spotify, what might be very good, and when we see it on the internet, and it's YouTube pictures, they share it with everyone because they say we are already light years ahead on that at the moment. So first is spill over the trust, change of the atmosphere towards the team and employees, and show when it's getting difficult that for you may already made a change. And as long as management says, okay, when it gets more difficult, we go back to our KPIs and we say, this is the result, we must be cheaper, it must be better, it's no good quality. Okay, but so you go back to only stick to the KPIs and not go deeper into the stuff. Why was it? People won't change.
Okay, and the next question that we have here, Hans, is how is this case for self-steering teams in the context of DevOps different from the more old-fashioned concept of self-steering teams?
What we see in DevOps, it is we already from Agile we're already breaking walls between the customer and our development teams, but there were still walls between development and the ops teams also in the organization, and the culture differences between the ops organization and the development organization is quite huge. There sometimes when you go into an organization and they don't even know each other, they are struggling. They have a lot of blame game to each other, and they have a lot of processes and checks and balances that prevent swift implementation of changes. So it is self-steering. It's also we have to broaden the scope, and we have broadened at first step the insecurity between dev and ops. We bring it in one team actually. So it's a lot of new dynamics. It delivers also a lot of new opportunities. That's also what we see at our customers, where we help them to implement, to break down that wall between the dev and ops, a lot of opportunities arise, and it's a new world actually, and it's developing quite fast, and it's so it broadens even the scope on the content level. It makes it more powerful, and self-steering is helpful over there, and it might end up actually that you have the feeling that when we have 40 or 400 DevOps teams collaborating as one, we have a swarm of bees actually, and they are still one organism. And I think so. The challenges and opportunities are larger on the content level process. New architectural opportunities arise.
Did you have more, Hans? Okay. No, I think in the interest of time, I think we need to wrap things up today. So Hans is available, so if you would like to have any questions for him, please reach out to us. Our address is www.quintgroup.com. Go ahead and contact us. Ask for Hans if you have any questions for him. I hope you have the rest of your day is wonderful. Thank you all for joining us.